to let you know.
This meeting is being recorded.
And thank you very much, Luke, and Al for that. Just to let people know that we are going to record this session to let other people benefit from the questions and discussions that we're having today, and we'll be making it available online. So if you don't want to be on it, feel free just to kind of keep yourself muted and off camera and just use the chat if you'd rather, if you don't want to appear on screen. So I think a few more people are coming in, but we will just go ahead and make a start. It is meant to be a fairly informal session today. So my name is Joy Davidson. I'm Associate Director with the DCC, and I'm leading Work Package 2 in the Fair Impact Project. And as part of our work, we're delivering a number of open calls for support. So today's session is a virtual clinic, which is basically just an informal session for us to share a little bit about what the support programs offer. It's a recap from some sessions that we ran in August when the calls were launched. But more importantly, today is just a chance for anybody who's considering applying to be able to ask us any questions that you might have about the programs or about the application process. So I have let you know, and for those of you who have just joined, we will be recording the session. So just to make you aware of that, and we will be uploading these slides to Zenodo after the event. I just wanted to give people a little bit of background on the Fair Impact Project, just in case you haven't joined one of our sessions before. We're an Infra-EOSC project. We're funded under the Horizon Europe program, and we are a partial follow-on from the Fair is Fair project, which was funded by Horizon 2020. And the project is really trying to expand solutions for the uptake of fair practices in Europe. And we are a coordination and support action, quite a big team, 28 partners across 10 EU member states, plus the UK. And we are just about halfway through the project. We started in June 2022, and we run through until the end of May 2025. So just in a nutshell, what are we trying to do? A lot of the effort in Fair Impact is really about supporting people to pick up current and emerging tools and practices. We've got an emphasis in trying to really kind of promote the use of those existing tools, especially those that came through the tranche of projects funded under the Infra-EOSC projects in Horizon 2020, but a lot of useful things came out of there. And we'd like to make sure that they aren't lost and that we can try to promote some of these for future use. We're also working with different communities of practice as part of the consortium to try and identify things that work for one community and to see if we might be able to translate them into more general and broadly adoptable solutions for other communities. And the main thing that we're doing is trying to provide that dedicated support. So to that end, I lead Work Package 2, which is all about engagement and support. And we have developed 3 different support routes as part of the Fair Impact Project. Route 1 support to becoming more fair enabling is through dedicated guidance and one-to-one support. So the Route 1 support call is why you're all here today. We will be talking about those 3 support programs that we have as part of the Route 1 support. And we'll hear a little bit more on those in minutes. But very briefly, just to say, Route 2, you may have already seen some of these. We have some, we had a first open call back in March 2023, where we allowed people to apply to get a little bit of money to support some testing of specific tools and approaches. Those activities are currently underway, and we will have a second call for financial support coming up in January 2024. So keep an eye out on the website for that. And the third route for support is through a series of public fair implementation workshops. These just kicked off last week, where we shared some national activities in Denmark to support FAIR. And we will be adding future webinars, probably 1 to 2 per month for the remainder of the project. So this session today, as I mentioned, is really to try and pick up on the current open call we have, which is for Route 1 support. And this is where you can apply to join one of our 3 support programs, which are targeted to research performing organizations, repositories and data service providers, and to national level initiatives. So we did run 3 dedicated sessions to introduce these 3 programs, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. The recordings are online if anybody missed those and wants to get a bit more in-depth information. I'll cover them fairly briefly today just to give you a recap, but we are hoping to make this more about you getting a chance to ask any questions you have. So what will we as Fair Impact provide for these 3 different support programs? And essentially the key things we will be providing in this route of support are a series of virtual workshops looking at different thematic aspects of enabling FAIR. You'll get some expert guidance and advice from the Fair Impact mentor team. We will also work one-to-one with the successful applicants to carry out a supported self-assessment of their current capabilities and to help them develop an action plan and, crucially, an engagement strategy to help them to become more fair enabling. And these are things that will be kind of co-developed with the Fair Impact mentors. A third aspect here, and I think it's pretty critical, we think it's equally important to the other 2 elements of the support that we're providing, is the opportunity to share knowledge and learn from your peers, because a lot of us are kind of finding our way to becoming more fair enabling together, and it's really crucial that we can share our experiences with our peers and to learn from each other. So the timeline for the support programs, the 3 different support programs that we have given them a fairly long running time. And this is really just to make it more easy for people to participate. So there will be a series of virtual workshops that take place pretty much from January through until March 2024. In between those, there will be some homework that people get to do really to try and work on that self-assessment activity and to start to develop their action plans. But we know that that can't happen overnight. So we wanted to give people a fairly good amount of time to work with the mentors to make this happen. So the overall time frame does seem like a long time. It's basically 9 months between January and September. But that will not be continual work. That will be a period of dropping in for getting together, sharing some information, and then doing some independent work supported by the mentors. So that hopefully doesn't frighten you too much to see that long time frame. I wanted to give you a flavor of some of the mentors you'll be working with in the various different support programs. So we've got a lot of expertise around research data management and curation. So the DCC and Dyke and DANS are all very experienced with this. We have repository experts. Again, DANS leading a national level data archive, as well as the UK Data Service, and some thematic curation services like EMBL EBI and the LifeWatch ERIC. So we've got a good mix of different expertise within the consortium, and these will be the mentors that you're working with as you go through the support programs. So I wanted to take a few minutes just to recap a little bit about what will happen in the repository support program, which the DCC will be leading on, and just to give you a flavor of what will happen during the 9 months of that support program. So you can see on this slide that we have a list of virtual workshops that will be taking place starting in late January 2024. Important to note here that the dates are going to be agreed once we have the successful applicants in place. So they're indicative dates for now, but it should give you a kind of a good idea of the frequency of the sessions, but the exact dates will be worked out once we have the cohort in place. So the first workshop we'll be doing is really to understand the drivers and potential benefits from becoming more fair enabling. So a lot of us in these infra EOS projects are thinking quite a lot about FAIR and the European Open Science Cloud, and it's part of our day-to-day work. So it's always sort of first and foremost on our agendas. But for a lot of research performing organizations, it's just one of many things that they have to deal with. So the first workshop will really help people to understand a lot of how it might fit into a bigger picture and how you might get some assistance to start making the case for spending some time on becoming more fair enabling. Second workshop we will focus on is the role of fair data policies within the research performing organization structure, because without the policies, it can be very hard to get things moving and to ensure that the adequate supports can be put in place. So that will be the second workshop that we'll look at. The first one is really starting to look at planning for fair data, and in particular, how you can support data management planning at the organizational level. Our fourth workshop will pick up on the role of trustworthy data repositories and look at it from the perspective of the RPO and how you might be able to point people towards what are considered trustworthy repositories and to be able to provide that kind of support. The last thematic workshop we have is to really help people to become more aware of the range of different training and guidance materials that are out there for reuse, and to help them to be able to identify what might be able to be picked up and adapted for local use at their organization. So those thematic workshops happen in the first part of the support program. The second half of the support program is where we really start to help you to start to see where you fit within those different thematic areas. So helping you to assess your current fair enabling capabilities. The other two workshops are really starting to look about developing your action plan, trying to think about where you are and where you want to be, and more importantly, how you're going to start to progress to that ambition that you have, and developing the engagement strategy. You can see here on the slide, we have 2 peer engagement workshops set up. And this is really to promote, as I said, an ability to hear from your peers, to hear how they're getting on, where they're struggling, where they're finding things maybe are working quite well, but just to be able to share and to learn from each other. So in a nutshell, I just wanted to give you what's in it for you, because you will get the support and some guidance from the experts. But in addition to what I mentioned already, the generic kind of benefits that are applicable to all of the 3 different support programs, participants in the Research Performing Organization Support Program will get a policy review. So anybody who has a data policy in place, we will be making use of some tools that came out of the Fair's Fair project to help do a policy review and to help give you some recommendations on where your policy might need to be updated to be more fair enabling. For those who maybe don't have a policy in place, we will help you to start taking the steps to develop a policy. And we will also help to work with you to organize one local workshop at your organization, which will bring together the different stakeholders and help you to do that kind of self-assessment to see where you are and to start thinking about your action plan. So those are some of the key benefits that you'll get out of participating in the support program. So I think at this point, I might hand over to my colleague, Luke Brinkman, who is from DANS, and will give you a brief recap of what you can expect if you apply to the repository support program. So over to you, Luke.
Yeah, thanks, Joy. So indeed, we have here we have the support program for repositories. And as you can see, this support program follows a really similar setup as the one that Joy just mentioned. So here we have 7 workshops planned over the course of the support program. And we also start with a session to understand your drivers. So what is it? Why do you actually want to become more fair enabling? Because often those drivers are really implicit, and by making them explicit, it helps us to better understand your needs, and also to make maybe yourself more aware of this. So then the next step is to see where you're currently at. So we have developed a tool to assess where you are when it comes to different aspects of FAIR. And based on this tool, you can also select certain areas where you want to improve your level of fairness. The next step is to develop an action plan. How do you want to put this to practice, and also to put a time schedule to it? So what do you want to achieve by the end of the program? And often you also need help from others in order to implement this. So that's why in workshop 5 we are talking about an engagement strategy. Who do you have to mobilize and engage with in order to make this fair action plan into a reality? And then by the end of the program, we have 2 sessions dedicated to peer knowledge exchange. So people will be working on different set of tools, maybe different aspects of FAIR that they want to improve on, but you're all going through the same process. So that's why we have these 2 sessions where you can learn from each other and see how everyone is the approaches that people are taking towards this. So as I said, for all participants, the structure is similar. Joy, if you can go to the next slide. But the content will be different. So we've selected a whole range of different tools that you can use to become more FAIR enabling, and we clustered those tools in 5 different clusters. So we have tools and approaches that focus on repository policies, on how to make research objects more fair, on automated FAIR assessment, on certification and EOS readiness. So basically what this means is that you can browse through a selection of tools and see what tools do you want to focus on in this program to improve on in one of these clusters. So in the repository policy, we focus on how is FAIR actually part of the policy of your repository, and how can policy support your repository to become more FAIR. Then when it goes to the level of the actual research objects, we have several tools there to improve the fairness of your research objects. Then automated FAIR assessment is also very interesting. There are tools out there that can automatically assess how fair the objects in your repository are. And we'll introduce some of those tools to you. And you can use those tools also as a check to see how you can improve the fairness of your objects. Then we have tools and approaches focusing on certification, for example, on Core Trust Seal, but also others. And the last is EOS readiness. So how can you make sure that your repository is compliant with the European Open Science Cloud? How can you make sure that research objects in your repository are also found through the services of EOS? And we also have tools and approaches there. So, and we can provide guidance on these tools, but it's also important to realize that it also takes effort from your side. So it's really we provide the tools and the support, but implementation, that is something that you have to do yourself. You can sign up as an individual, but also as a team, maybe of 2, 3 people. That can also be very beneficial, because sometimes you need people with different kinds of roles or mandates within an organization to actually make a sustainable change. And then last but not least, we also have a virtual site visit, which is part of the program, where you can look at how different FAIR impact partners actually have already implemented one or more of these tools or practices, so that you can see how it's actually done in practice. And then I'll give the floor back to you, Joy.
That's great. Thanks very much, Luc. I think the next point is really for Suzanne, if she's on the call, just to give a very couple of minutes on what people can expect from the national level support program. So Suzanne, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here, Joy.
Great. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, hi everyone. So indeed, it's a bit different. So the scope is a bit different for this support program. As Joy said, it's focused on national initiative. That means we expect to have as a main output of this of the support program for each of the participants the drafting of a FAIR national implementation action plan. So with a national overview. Of course, it doesn't mean that organizations that don't have a national role in their own country cannot apply. It's just, but at least it can be a way for the organization who apply to better think how to engage with their own ministry, with the other organization at national level, and to help drafting and organizing, I would say, the national community around implementation, FAIR implementation plan. So this is the scope of this support program. This is why also it's less focused on the tools, as you will notice very quickly, actually. It's much more focused on the different aspects that are needed when you want to build the Fair Implementation Action Plan, such as other example of Fair National Plan in other country, which will be the first workshop plan in end of January. But also how to engage the researcher with fairness, which will be the second workshop. Then opening the Fair Action Plan to other types of resources, such as open access publication, and not only data, because it's also a point that is often neglected in the Fair Implementation Plan. Then what are the skills that should be built at a national level and are needed when you prepare and define a Fair National Implementation Plan? Joy, can we move? Yeah, thank you. And then there will be a concrete example coming from France in April about actually the concrete organization of an implementation action plan at the national level. And we will finish with the evaluation. So you see, it's mainly about the different parts of what can compose a Fair National Implementation Action Plan, and then not providing specific tools, but much more organizational aspect, who to involve and when, and planning the different work and part of this plan. And as like in the two previous programs that were presented, in March and in May, there will be a face-to-face meeting and time to work with the team, the support team of Fair Impact, to help the applicant working on their own draft for their Fair National Implementation Plan. And yeah, that's it. I think so. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you very much, Suzanne and Luc. So hopefully you'll see that the support programs are all kind of basically trying to do the same things, to try and look at things in a more holistic way and to try and help you move away from just thinking it's all about tools to really thinking more about bigger picture themes and trying to self-assess where you are and how you can move forward. So we've given you the little recap there, and as I mentioned, there's recordings from more detailed sessions that we ran in August if you want any more information, or you can ask us some questions when we get to the Q&A part. What I wanted to cover now is just to give you what do we expect from people who take part in the support program. The first thing really, and I think Luc mentioned it, is the willingness to participate and to actually get involved. It's not just the kind of a thing where you come and you listen. We really need people to actually be engaged and to take part and to start to think about how they can progress in their own organizations or initiatives. So that will involve some homework being carried out in between the virtual workshops. But as I said, there will be some one-to-one support with your mentors to help you to do that bit of work. The other thing that we want to make sure is that you come up with your Fair Implementation Action Plan, and we will have a sort of a template that we use to help you to do this, and that will be something that we provide to you. Obviously, we'll be looking for you to get some quick wins in there if you can, you know, within the life of the support program. But equally, we're happy for you to put things into your implementation plan that will take longer than 9 months. You know, anything that you put in it doesn't have to be completed within the life of the support program, but we would like to make sure that we can just try to get you a couple of really kind of well-focused and tangible things that you can start to progress in your plans. We want to see evidence that you're able to start to engage other actors, either at the regional or national level if you're part of Suzanne's program, or at the repository side and at the RPO side if you're part of the other two programs. So a lot of this will really depend on the ability to come up with the plan, but importantly, hopefully with input from others, and to make sure that that is taken forward as a team activity rather than just somebody working in isolation. The last thing is that we have a mandatory exit interview for everybody who takes part in the support programs for Fair Impact. These are usually 30 to 60-minute interviews, but they help us to put together something that we're calling a fair implementation story. And these are published reports, very short documents that focus on some practical aspects that hopefully will serve as an inspiration and guides for others who might want to start to become more fair enabling as well. So who can apply for this? It's basically open to individuals, groups, and organizations from both public and private organizations. We can have universities, research infrastructures, any types of repositories and data service providers are welcome to join. And for Suzanne's program, we are happy to take representatives of national and international initiatives as well as regional. So, I think, again, as Suzanne mentioned, you don't actually have to represent your country to take part in her support program, but you might want to think about how you can contribute at that national level activity. Because we're a European Commission funded project, we will obviously be putting a strong emphasis on trying to support applicants coming from within the EU and associated countries. But we are open to getting some applications from others outside of Europe. So global applications are welcome if people want to submit them, but we will obviously balance the cohort to put an emphasis on European organizations. I wanted to run you through the application process now, just to give you a recap on how that works. We've tried to keep the burden quite light on applicants so that it shouldn't take you too long to put together an application. It's all done online through the grants platform that you can see here. There's a link to the grants platform that you can see. You have to set up a user account within the Fair Impact system first, and then you'll be able to move to the Trust Grants platform. When you get to the platform dashboard, you will see there are a number of different open calls that you can apply to. The ones in blue are the 3 that are open for applications now. The ones in red are closed. That was from our first open call. So you just choose whichever of the 3 that you would like to apply to, and then you just start to fill in the application. It's done entirely within the system. You can work through the form in stages. You don't have to do it all at once. You can save it and come back to it. But as I said, a lot of the fields shouldn't really take that long to fill in. It shouldn't be too arduous a process. Once you submit your application into the system and the closing date has passed, we will start allocating the applications to be evaluated, and they will be looked at by 3 different peer reviewers from within the Fair Impact team. Just a couple of points here on what we're looking for in the applications. There's quite a lot of questions in each of the 3 support programs about your context, your current level of activity with regard to certain activities like data management planning, or whether you run a repository service, and if you have any training or guidance experience in supporting FAIR. We'll ask you things about your current familiarity with concepts such as EOSC and FAIR. And EOSC, reminder, is the European Open Science Cloud. It's important to note here that we're really looking just to get a sense of where you are. We are not favoring those who are more advanced. In fact, we would really like to put an emphasis on helping those people who might just be getting started. So when you see those questions, I think the important thing is just to be honest about where you are. You will not be marked down for not having more awareness about FAIR or EOSC. We're really just trying to get a sense of who's applying and where you currently are. There's a couple of questions that will be evaluated, and these are both to do with the impact. So you'll be asked to provide a very short statement on what you're hoping to get out of your participation. And that is one of the questions that we will be evaluating. And you'll also then be asked to give a short description on how you will share the knowledge that you've gained through your participation with those that you need to, either within your organization or different actors at the national level or regional level, or within the service provider level, depending on which of the programs you go into. So those are the 2 questions that we really will be focusing on the evaluation side. Everything else in the application is really just to help us get a sense of who's applying and to ensure that we can get a good balance of people who might just be starting out and some who might be a little bit more advanced. So while we are prioritizing those people who are just getting started out, if you are one of those who do feel that you're in the more advanced community, it's fine to still apply, because we know that there are barriers that people are experiencing. Even those who are seen as world leaders, there are some aspects that can still be difficult. So it is open to anyone to apply. So I think that is where I will leave it off for now. I will stop sharing the screen. And we have a question and answer period now for you to ask any questions that you have in relation to the support programs or the open calls. And I will have a look at the chat and see if there's anything in there. So I see there's one question. According to the application form, should I answer the questions according to my own knowledge or according to my organization if there's a discrepancy? That's a good question. I think I would need to leave that to you as the applicant to decide. I mean, I guess it depends on who you're bringing to the support program with you. I don't know if anybody wants to unmute and clarify a little bit about what your question is about here. No? Okay, Suzanne, I see you've got a...
Yeah,
a
yeah,
hand.
if I may. Yeah,
If I may.
I think it...
Yeah.
Please, no, I can wait. Dario?
Yes. Yeah, okay. This is Dario. This is Dario from Italy. Okay. So we are from University of Milan in Italy, and we would like to know how can we estimate the global effort for this initiative? I mean, we are very interested, but we have very limited resources to do this. So we would like to know, okay, a raw estimation of this of it. Can you give us how many? I think you already spent some time describing the call and so on, but other than the call, yeah, what do you think?
There's obviously the time needed to take part in the virtual workshops, and each of those would be 2 hours. And we're looking to run probably, 2 a month at the most, I would say, in that period. So that would be the kind of hard time requirement. The other stuff I think is probably hopefully more aligned with your day-to-day work. So I think, as an organization, hopefully the kinds of things you're doing should be aligned with some of the stuff that you're hoping to do, but it may require some additional time and effort. But it shouldn't be. We realize people have day jobs, and it certainly would not be. We wouldn't be requiring you to give up your day work and just focus on this. We've stretched it out over the 9 months really to make sure that the time commitment is realistic and can be achieved. So it shouldn't be too much effort over and above really the workshops and the discussions, and then the rest is kind of as much as you want to put into it, really.
Yeah, but with also the fact that we expect the draft of the Fair Implementation Action Plan at the end as a major output of the support program.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think, there are things that we would like to see, the kinds of participation in the workshops, the exit interviews. These are all kind of quantified by the length of the workshops, but the rest of it is kind of down to you as the organization and who you've got working with you. So, but we are hoping to keep it to a realistic amount of work. So nothing too onerous.
Okay.
That's great. I'm just going to have a quick look here in the chats. So how formal a group should be in legal terms? Can groups from different organizations apply? I think for the RPO, for my particular support program, it makes sense for people to join from one organization, I would say. I think that's the sensible thing. But for Luke, for your program, would you be happy to have different organizations that maybe work together to run a repository? I think that would certainly be fine.
Yeah, I don't see any problems there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth mentioning, and I maybe didn't say this when I went through the application, we have allowed you to include, I think, up to 3 other participants who can join the application. It's up to you if you want to invite them from outside of your own organization. If that makes sense, then that's absolutely fine. And you can maybe make that clear in the application what each person is bringing to the mix and why they should be involved. But yeah, it's absolutely fine. Okay, I think I'm going to go to the document. There was a couple of questions that we had we'd received previously, and I thought I'd put them in here just in case other people have the same questions. Oh, Luke, do you want to pick something up before we go on to that, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Birgit asked another question in the chat about if people are already working on Core Trust Seal, whether the support program would be useful for them. I think if you're already in the process of becoming Core Trust Seal certified, then indeed the support program might not be at the right level for you, because the support that we want to deliver in the support program is really a starting point to get familiar with the certain concepts of Core Trust Seal and how you can work towards them. Basically taking the first step. If you're already in the process, I would say that then this support program might not be the most optimal way to pursue that.
Yeah, I think like Lou says, it might depend on how far down the road you are in your certification process. Things like the policy aspect that Luke's support program is picking up, I think, are pretty crucial. For anybody who's going for certification or indeed, wanting to be more trustworthy, policies are quite important to that respect. So, there might be elements of the support program that could be useful. So have a look and think about whether it might apply to you. Okay. Okay, I see if there's a question here. I'll come back to you in a minute, Lorraine. I'll just kind of pick up on here. What happens if you get selected and you have to drop out during the workshops for any reason? So if the question is that you're withdrawing your organization completely, then I guess nothing happens. We would just have to cross that bridge if that's the case. But if you do want to bring in up to three people from your organization, then hopefully you can mix and match. If there's one particular topic that's being addressed in the virtual workshops that you would like somebody to attend, you decide in your own team who goes to which of the workshops. You don't all have to attend all of the workshops. We will also record them because we know, even though we're going to try to coordinate the timing with the successful applicants to work for most people, we know it's not going to be the case that they'll work for everyone. So we will also be recording the workshops. So there's a chance that you can take part and look at them at a recording as well. So hopefully that answers that question. So Lorraine, I see you wanted some more information on the role of the mentors in planning and delivering the local workshop. So it's important to note here that we are not able to travel to help you run that workshop. So what we would be doing is really helping you to come up with the program, thinking about the things you want to cover in terms of the self-assessment and starting to think about your action plan. We would help you to think about who needs to come to the workshop. We've done a lot of work in the DCC and with the various other mentors, trying to get different parts of organizations working together to support research data management and fair data production. So the kinds of things we would be working to help you to do is really to plan, and we can deliver some remote content to the workshop, but we wouldn't actually be able to physically come on site and help you to do that. And it's probably also worth mentioning that we wouldn't be able to buy any lunches or coffees or teas or anything like that. It would only be our time that we could contribute to the workshop rather than any kind of financial contribution. So hopefully that will help. And let's see, I think we've covered most of the questions in the chat. So the couple of questions I did want to pick up on that we've received from other events that we've presented at recently. Some people have asked whether you can apply to more than one of the support offers. So we know that there is In many cases, there can be a blurring of the lines. You might be a research performing organization that runs your own repository, and we would leave it up to you to try and decide which of the programs seems the most useful to you. But we are also happy for you to apply to more than one. If you think that more than one could be useful to you, feel free to apply to one or indeed all three of them. When we go through the evaluation of the applications, we will try to take into account, a good balance. So you may not be able to get all three, but we may be able to move to a point where you can take part in one or two. So we'd say, there's no real reason to stop you from applying for more than one, but we will try to get you to indicate what your preferred support program is if you're applying to more than one, just so we can make a good balance. The other question, I think we've kind of covered that as well, is that we have allowed you to bring different people in. And let me just go back to the chat. I think there was a related point here. According to the application form, should I answer? Oh, we've picked that one up. The names and roles of the additional partners. We're in the process of an internal recruitment for a research assistant, so we won't have you can proceed with two names if you know two names, or even if you just want to go in with your own name now. Successful applicants can add up to 3 people once we start with the actual getting everybody onboarded into the support programs. If you have people that you might want to swap out, even from the application stage to the support program stage, you can do that. So yeah, it's not a problem if you don't have all 3 people that you want to bring in identified at this point. So that's fine. I think that answers that question. I don't know if anybody else has any questions. I'm just going to take a quick look to see if there's any hands in the room. I don't see anything. And I don't see anything else in the chat. So if people feel that there are any other questions, and now is your chance to add something in. Otherwise, we will be able to give you 15 minutes back in your day. So let's see. It seems save draft does not work. It should work. I think if you want to get in touch with me afterwards, I can put you in with the technical team who run the support, the grants application platform. So we can certainly look into that. So if there are no other questions at this point, what I would say then is thank you to the rest of my team for helping to cover all the questions today. And we hope that you've seen something here that looks like it would be of use to you. And if you have any other questions that we didn't cover today and you think of things later on, we do have a help desk that is available through the website. So you can submit any other questions that you have to us between now and the end of the month. And a reminder that we do have a deadline of November 1st. If you are hoping to put in an application, make sure you get it in by 5 o'clock on November 1st. We will be doing the evaluations hopefully within the month of November so that we can let the successful applicants know by early December if you've been selected, and to start that process of making sure we're getting the teams put together. So at that point, I think we'll just say thank you very much to everyone. And as Suzanne says, don't be shy and apply. That's great advice. So we would encourage you all to do that. And yeah, we're hopeful that we'll see some applications from you, and get in touch if you have any other questions in the meantime. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a good afternoon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.